Nice to see Reveille feeling a whole lot better. Remember, had to visit the vet in St. Louis, but back on his feet and barking up a storm saying, let's get on it here, fellas. These Buckeyes have jumped all over us. That's not very good. 3rd down and 8 for Brandon Stewart and Texas A&M. Down 21-7 as we start the second quarter. I believe there was movement in the offensive line. The left side of that line appeared to flinch just a bit. You know, if there's anything that Fred Puckins likes about this defense, is the improvement of the defensive front as the year rolled along for Ohio State.
Movement for the offense. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
And there are a bunch of youngsters up front, but what caused the flinching by the Aggie offensive line was the fact that Gary Berry, the weak safety, was coming hard on a safety blitz.
Well, talking to the coaches, both Puckins and RC on the other side, Dan, you and I told him, listen, the Ohio State defensive backfield is better than Kansas State's. Make no mistake out of it. This is one of the finest defensive backfields in the country. They're going to play you real tough.
Right, you got the Thorpe winner and Antoine Winfield.
3rd down and 13. Brandon Stewart sprints to the right. On the move, receiver covered, so he takes off. And he's out of bounds at the 28-yard line. The back very close to the original line of scrimmage with Ahmad Plummer in pursuit, forcing the quarterback out of bounds. So after that first series, Puckins making quick adjustments into how he wanted to play against this Aggie team, and suddenly Ohio State has turned up the heat.
And I also think that the layoff, that 41-day layoff, the speed of the Aggies surprised Ohio State in those first 2 series, both offensively and defensively.
Well, Leckler will try it again. Sends this one high towards Boston. Here is the fair catch, and the sure-handed one makes the catch at the 28. A lot of speculation about David Boston, what he might do. Most folks expect him to pack it in and head for the NFL next season, but we shall see. Timeout. Since the Buckeyes have handled the ball offensively, but remember, they've scored each of the last 2 times they possessed it against the Aggies. There was the pass from Jermaine to Germany. Montgomery took it in. Then, of course, the block punt. In the meantime, they have shut down the Aggies, so it'll be Jermaine coming back with Michael Wiley behind Martin. Great time. Down the middle, deep double coverage, and incomplete. Well, Dan Fouts had a chance to talk to Coach Cooper day before yesterday, and he asked him, what would be the key, John, at the start of the game? Here's what Coach had to say.
The key for us, I think, is protecting our quarterback, as it's been all season long, giving Joe Jermaine time to throw the football, not allowing A&M big plays. I don't think A&M will come out and try to stuff the ball down our throat. I think they'll spread the field like they did in the second half of the Kansas State game.
Well, certainly, John has been right in a couple of instances, and that offensive line, as he said right off the top, give Jermaine time. That has done a wonderful job so far. Here comes Wiley, daylight, left side, and he barrels to the 44-yard line. That's 16 more yards for Michael Wiley, who came into this game averaging better than 104 yards a game. And the free safety Brandon Jennings joined by Jason Webster on the style.
Well, the strength of the Aggie defense is in their linebackers, but right now they're not getting anywhere near the line of scrimmage. Watch how this push from the right side of the screen comes, and they get caught up in the mix here. And now to the outside goes Wiley. 5 carries for 50 yards.
Wiley adding a couple more to that total. How about the Great Danes' performance in that Rose Bowl for Wisconsin? Every time you and I looked up at the monitor, he was running downhill again.
Yeah, it was quite a battle between 2 great players, Kate McNown and Ron Dane. But you got to think that UCLA is going to have to hit that recruiting trail and get a little more size on that defensive line.
Yeah.
Just were overpowered by that huge offensive line of the Badgers, and then you throw Dane in the mix. My goodness.
So they got hit by Edger and James of Miami and then run over by the Great Dane today. 2nd down and 8. Wiley goes out as a wide receiver. Good hands. Jermaine fires middle. Boston deflected away by the safety. And let's break for a moment now for our Aflac trivia question. What year, folks, did Texas A&M win the national championship, and in what bowl game? I'll give you one hint. It was in New Orleans. We'll let them think about that year a little bit.
Yeah, it was way before I was born.
You like rubbing that in a little bit, didn't you, buddy? Huh?
Happy New Year. First shot of the new year. One for Dan.
3rd down and 8. Here's Jermaine under fire. Miller overthrew him, and Buckeyes will punt it away. So they are stopped this time. Cedric Curry doing a pretty good job of coverage a couple of times.
Absolutely. That Aggie secondary, 3 straight passes, 3 straight incompletions for Joe Germain. He had a lot of time to throw, too, but he had nobody open.
Rail Taylor back. That's Chris Taylor, the wide man. One of the fastest of the Aggies. They say in a 40-yard dash he'd run second to Sir Parker probably on the team. Bartholomew back to punt again for the Bucks. Brent Bartholomew punting in his last game, and he was under fire. Got off a beauty, and Taylor going to let it bounce. Takes a big hop for the Bucks, and they'll down it there at the 16-yard line. We'll take a break. 38-yard punt. We're in the second quarter of the Nokia Sugar Bowl, and Ohio State leads it by 14. Timeout. The Louisiana Superdome, Ohio State having it its way. 21-7 and trying to make a final statement on the season that included one bitter disappointment on a Saturday afternoon in Columbus against Michigan State. Now Brandon Stewart handing the ball off, and Dante Hall with that quick cut of his. And the Buckeyes pursuing. Do not let him break free. Let's go down below to Jackaroo. Jack.
Well, Brent and Dan, they're not at all displeased, the Aggies, with their running game, but they are very upset about their passing game. In fact, during this last break, they discussed the problems posed by the speedy defensive secondary of the Buckeyes. So, Dan, what they said they're going to do is their wideouts are going to change their routes. They're going to try and play it a little bit softer and try and find the seams.
Sir Parker checks in, and again toward that short side, the boundary side of the field, with Stewart looking in his direction. They throw it to him on a quick screen for a 1st down. Now let's go back on Jack Arut's comment about, he said, speedy defensive backfield. Now let's take a look here. The fastest Buckeyes, and they say they'd change the lead, but look at it. Gary Berry and Antoine Winfield are 2 of the fastest Bucks. There's your strongest, an offensive lineman, Tyson Walter, 445 bench. But I got to tell you, Dan, it's that bottom one that shocks me.
Well, that's the one that's going to make pro scouts' eyes pop out.
That's unbelievable that the big cat has got a 38-inch vertical leap. I know his production has fallen off this year, and in the eyes of many, he may have slipped a little bit. That's a pretty good number, folks. Here's now the toss to Dante. The Bucks hanging on at the 31-yard line. The young man who was hanging on, Clinton Wayne, is out of Canada. In fact, his brother was playing in the Canadian Football League. He's a sophomore defensive tackle. One of the reasons why they're getting a little bit more of a push up there. And Brandon Stewart out of Stephenville, Texas.
The Buckeyes come into the game as the #1 team in the nation against the run, averaging, giving up just 67 yards. The Aggies have got 66 yards rushing so far.
Spiller Campbell, double tight end on a 2nd and 6 here for the Aggies. Rolling, hits Spiller, well short of the 1st down, and Berry, who is coming up big. Well, our Aflac trivia question. What year did Texas A&M win the national championship, and what bowl? And it was right here in New Orleans at the Sugar Bowl. 1939 they were national champions, so it was the 1940 Sugar Bowl. I guess that's probably before Nokia was even started, right, over in Finland. I don't think that company, I don't think we had cell phones back then, did we?
You don't think? I think Mr. Graham Bell is still working on it.
3rd down and 5, and you saw Parker slip out again. Got him on the same play as a minute ago, but well short of the 1st down. Buckeyes read it, and Wayne jumps out for the defensive line to bring Parker down. What do you think about bringing back the same play again like that, Dan?
Well, you know, I don't think you can do this too many times, especially early in the game, especially in the same series. You are getting the ball into one of your better players' hands, but with such a long distance to go, the easy play for Wayne coming off his block and smelling out that wide receiver screen.
Here's Leckler with Boston set to return. Beautiful high punt. There's the fair catch at the 16-yard line. Well, it's been a wonderful New Year's celebration here in New Orleans. Well, that win on that far side, watching here on first down, so the Aggies probably expect Ohio State to come out throwing here in the early going on this.
Either that or that toe is bothering him. Came into the game with a sore toe, and this AstroTurf is murder on toes.
Here's Montgomery, who already scored 30, 40, and ridden out near midfield. Joe Montgomery. 31 yards for the senior.
Well, and again, it's on that left side behind Tyson Walter and John Lumpkin. Nice kick-out block there. And now watch the speed of Montgomery. I don't think the Aggies expected anything like this from number 33. They're up close to the line of scrimmage, and Montgomery gets all the way to the strong safety, Rich Cody.
3 carries, 70 yards, and 1 touchdown for Joe already. Stays in the game behind Matt Keller. It'll be Montgomery again behind Keller, looking for an alley, and he breaks through. Brandon Jennings, the free safety, coming up over the back.
You just get the feeling that Ohio State's mad. They're mad with the way they started the game and the way the Aggies so easily controlled them on offense that first series and on defense when they went right down and scored.
Remember, this is a team that led Michigan State in its only loss. The score was 24-9 before the Spartans came back on it. 202 total yards, averaging 500 a game. And Jermaine slips it into Wiley's hands. First down, Ohio State, out of bounds at the 34-yard line. Well, you know, we showed you that clip of the abuse that Jermaine took a year ago at the hands of Florida State. So we asked him how he got beat up against FSU last year. Here's what he had to say.
That was a tough game for us last year. We kind of left here with a bad taste in our mouth. So we kind of used that as motivation this season to, you know, play harder, try to raise our level of play to another level so that we couldn't let something like that happen again.
As much as he got hit, Brent, that bad taste in his mouth might have been his own blood.
Play fake, Jermaine, flushed out, now in trouble. Good footwork on this by Joe Jermaine. That was a bit of nifty footwork, and he's out of bounds at the 26. Well, we saw that win on that far side. Jack, what have you heard down below?
Well, Brent, so far the toe is holding up well on this turf, but the problem is they want to conserve that wind strength. So what they're trying to do is rotate him in and out every once in a while, give him a blow on the sidelines because they know it's going to be a long, long day.
It is interesting to me that Holman, after a big play on the first series, has really been occupied, and it's probably a result of this well-oiled offensive line. Walter, Rob Murphy, Kurt Murphy, Gilbert, and Burris from left to right. Those 5 starters have gone together all season. Given Jermaine great time. Boston knocked away at the last instant in the end zone by Jason Webster.
And Brent, one way you judge a defensive back is makeup speed. How much room can he cover when the ball is in the air? He's got 5 yards in pursuit of Boston. The ball is underthrown, but that is an outstanding job by Jason Webster, knowing if he doesn't get there, it's another 6 points for Ohio State.
Oh, on 2nd and 2, the Buckeyes decide to take a crack at it and miss it by inches. Now it is 3rd down and 2. We've got 8.5 minutes here in the first half. It's 21-7 Ohio State. Back with Wiley. Wiley stumbling across the 25-yard line, and Remember, the BCS continues because tomorrow, the FedEx Orange Bowl, and I think this could be another entertaining game. Florida against Syracuse, led by Donovan McNabb. Dan, your impression of Donovan McNabb?
I love him. I think he's got it all. He's got great running ability. He throws a lot better than I thought, but he's a winner, and he's going to be tested against that great Gator defense in a full house, huh?
Oh,
in Miami.
Rocking the old Orange Bowl. You know what a great place that is.
I loved it one night. I know that.
4th down and a yard, and the Bucks say up by 2 scores. We'll go. Wiley with a chance, swallowed. Texas A&M holds and takes over as Cornelius Anthony makes the play for the Aggies, and it is a big one at this point in the game.
And it was the penetration by Royland Bradley, number 40, that forced Wiley to jump to the outside. And once a defensive linebacker gets his penetration, that allows the inside linebackers to come up with the tackle. Watch the penetration right there on the outside by Bradley, number 40. And here is Anthony with another big play for the Aggies.
Texas A&M, a team which started the season in the Kickoff Classic, lost to Florida State, then did not lose again until they went into Austin. And on that day when they had trouble with their footing, and Ricky Williams ran up and down the field, breaking Tony Dorsett's record, they lost, but then they come back with, as Dan Fouts stated, and I really think he's right, the game that defined this season more than any other was the Aggies' upset of Kansas State. It was a monster. So many things were shaped by that one game in St. Louis, not the least of which is having Texas A&M come into New Orleans to play here.
And, you know, I don't think I agree with that last play by
21-7, Ohio State of the Big Ten over Texas A&M at the Big 12 at the Nokia Sugar Bowl. With 7.5 minutes to go here in the first half. John Saunders and Todd Blackledge will have all the exciting details of what went on earlier today, and there was a whole lot to tell you about. Brandon Stewart coming down the near side, bumping with Sir Parker, and Winfield bumping on him. You know, let's go back on what Dan said. Aggies never quit. Here it was, 3rd down and 17. A quick hitch, and Sir Parker does the rest,
And he also had another touchdown reception in the game and a key 2-pointer to put them in this position. But the Aggies, such great discipline and confidence that they feel they can stay with their game plan and get back in any game.
2nd and 10. But they're facing a major league defensive backfield here today. Dante Hall quickly through, squirts to the 29-yard line, tripped up by Joe Brown. Now, Joe is playing much better for the Buckeyes. He has a plate in that left thumb, but the coaches told us that it's much better, much stronger now, so that when he trips up somebody, he's able to get some strength out of that hand, much more than he did earlier in the season.
And you got to feel that being just a sophomore, that Joe Brown is going to get a lot bigger. He's already 6'6", but just weighs 285, and I would expect before he's through, he's a 300-pounder.
Here's 3rd and 6. This is a tough conversion against this defense. Diggs and Rudzinski, Berry all come, jailbreak time, and Stewart is down at the 25, the first sack, and you could see it coming.
And it was the guy we were just talking about, Joe Brown, but really it was the other pressure by the defensive back and the linebackers. Watch Berry coming on the safety blitz, and Brown is just going to be the beneficiary of hanging around and waiting for the quarterback to come to him. Brown, number 73, good peripheral vision, sees the quarterback trying to escape and grabs him.
Remember, Kevin Griffin scored a touchdown on a blocked punt by the Bucks earlier. Kevin, the nephew of the great Archie Griffin, and they were coming again. Boston going to let this one bounce. And it takes an Aggie roll to the 23-yard line. Well, we'll take a break at the 6:03 mark of the first half. 21-7, Ohio State. If you do not include a team by the name of Tulane here in New Orleans, and congratulations to the Green Wave, a wonderful story. They went up to Memphis, beat BYU, and ran the table. Here's the fullback. Keller's first carry of the game, and it's for 12 yards. Well, we've talked about the Big Ten and what they have accomplished in this bowl season. They're at the top of our list as we take a look at what all the conferences have done. They're unbeaten. But folks, take a look at the Big 12, 2-3. And go on down the list. The Pac-10 usually outstanding, 1-4, and the SEC at 2-4. Dan, are you as surprised as I am about the Big 10 being the only unbeaten conference?
Well, I think it's reflected in the fact that Ohio State's strength of schedule was rated 28th in the country, and that tells you a little bit about the Big 10, but not anymore.
Now Germain hits Boston for a first down, snaps one off for 12 more yards for Joe Germain. Dan, can Joe Germain make it with an NFL team?
I think give him a couple of years in the NFL, let him learn a system. What he has is outstanding mechanics. He has a real understanding for what has become a pretty wide open passing offense here at Ohio State. Plus, he's a competitor. He's played with a lot of heart. But I go back to those mechanics. They're absolutely perfect. And that's sometimes the toughest thing for a kid coming into the NFL is just being in position to throw good passes.
Here's Wiley. Breaks free, and now Ohio State is just reeling off huge chunks of yardage. We talked about Joe Germain, and here is our AT&T player comparison between Stewart and Germain, Dan.
Well, the big thing is here, what do you do with your completions? 101 yards for Joe Germain. Only 38 yards on one more completion for Brandon Stewart. So this goes right back to the type of defenses that are being played as well.
4:46, and Wiley steps for the first down.
Boy, this is almost the first turnover of the night as Wiley gets popped. The ball will be fumbled forward, and who's at the bottom of the pile? But Wiley's fullback, Matt Keller. Watch the ball come out here. There goes Murphy, but there is Keller on the bottom of that one. The Aggies do a great job of forcing fumbles. That's 30 on the year.
Now Germain with Wiley going in motion toward the right side of the quarterback. Checks covered down middle, overthrows Lumpkin, who was covered by a linebacker that time, and Royland Bradley did not give Lumpkin much room, and Lumpkin says the reason why is he was holding on right between the 8 and the 5.
Well, when you're 6 feet 8 inches tall, there's a lot of surface there for defenders to hold on to that 8 and 5. Lumpkin does not have great speed, and when he comes out of his stance sometimes he raises up and exposes a lot of body to be held.
Dan, I know it was the first time you and I have watched Tim Couch at length, the fine Kentucky quarterback who lost today to Penn State. What did you think of him as a quarterback?
I think he's got it all. He can throw every pass, and I was really impressed with his mobility and his ball handling.
Here's the long handoff to Montgomery, who's back in the game. Montgomery replaces Wiley, and let's go back and talk again about Monday night. Dan, I don't know about you, but I think Tennessee may be overlooked in this game. Florida State, I know, has been established as a favorite. And, of course, again, a reminder, we've got enhanced TV, so bring your computer along. Dial up ESPN.com, and you can look at some key stats as the game unfolds. The reason why I say that is that Tennessee has answered every question. And, you know, Bobby Bowden got through with Marcus Outzen in Tallahassee. I think it's have to be a different game down there against the Volunteers.
Well, I like any coach that will kick you out of practice, and that's what Bowden did before that Florida game.
Jermaine Boston, no. Cedric Curry again. Nope.
You know, we've been talking a lot about the Buckeye secondary, but Cedric Curry going against Boston does not buy the fake. But watch the catch-up speed again. Jermaine's ball is just a little bit underthrown, and that's not only a good job of catching up, but watch the right hand as he comes in and strips the ball away with a lot of power. Boston had that ball going down, but Curry ripped it loose.
Let's go back on Bobby Bowden. He wasn't concerned about me. I don't know what I'm looking at. It was you that could have picked up those trick plays. Now, having gone for it and failed on 4th and 1, on 4th and 6, they will use Dan Stoltz, but not before they use up a timeout here at the 3:20 mark.
Play clock was running down, so it took some decision time for John Cooper and the Buckeyes before they...
You ought to be able to make it through 18 real easy. We're going to find out in a couple of seconds, guys.
What do you think about that, Potter?
Coaches, you know, they'll drive players crazy. And, you know, the one thing that really drives you crazy is when they change their mind.
Now we have those narrow goalposts, and what, they're wider, so they're going to punt instead? Is that what happened here?
I think it's that 54 yards is a lot more important than those 9 or 18 feet.
You know what? They got a message for Jack LaRue. You know? So it's Bartholomew punting. Hangs it high, trying to down it inside the 20. Kicks out of bounds, and it's not bad. That ball's going to be marked at about the 13-yard line. So a reminder that coming up on the National Car Rental Halftime Report, scores and highlights from bowls around the country with John and Todd. And also, we've got this gentleman, Wingin' Wayne Morgan from Stone Mountain, Georgia, folks, going for a cool mill if he can throw the football through that giant Nokia telephone. Looks a little nervous down there.
Oh, he's got no problem. I've seen him throw. He throws well. A lot of money, though.
A bank manager at that. Here's the toss down to Dante Hall from Brandon, and great hit by Damon Moore, the safety.
Antoine Winfield gets a lot of publicity because he is the best cornerback in the country, and Ahmed Plummer has the most interceptions on these Buckeye team. But what a luxury the safeties provide for Fred Puggett. Both Moore and Barry are all over the place tonight.
Moore directing some traffic in that secondary. He and Barry basically too deep now at the 2.5-minute mark. And they run twos right at him. A little short, I believe, in the first down. Damon forced to come up and make the stop. 2:20. The Aggies would like to rally and get something going here before the intermission. Down 2 touchdowns. Timeout being called by Ohio State. So we've got a moment. Let's take a look at upcoming show on ABC.
Was that little town Big Timber, Montana? I know it wasn't Sisters, Oregon. I could tell.
R.C. Slocum. Third down conversion for his Aggies. Not good here tonight. They'd like to do something about it. They got a big goose egg on 5 chances. Got a couple of yards to pick up here with 2:18 to go. They got a couple timeouts in their pocket. Press coverage. 2 tight ends, power formation, and Toombs at that tailback spot powers right straight into the heart of the Buckeyes. The big cat, the first to hit him right in the hole.
Now you got 500 pounds of running backs coming at the big cat. Will Simpson at 240 and Jamar Toombs at 260. Here he is, number 45, coming from an off position there, and with help from Gary Barry. May have held Toombs short of that first down. It's going to be close.
Well, I know, Dan, you had a chance to ask Andy why his number production has dropped off the last 3 years. Here's what the big cat had to say.
In my freshman year, I was, the new kid on the block and kind of green, and they just said, just go, blitz me every play and let me try to make plays and let everybody else kind of play the role. Whereas last year, it was a mix, and this year it's just, it's still a mix, but there's just such great talent on our defense.
Well, that production paid off. He stopped the fullback just inches from a first down, and so RC with a chance to think about it, and 2:08 to go, trailing 21-7. He does not want to give the Bucks a cheapie here in this situation and go in down perhaps 28-7 at the intermission. I know Hal Mumme in Kentucky gambled today, and Penn State made him pay. Leckler against Heat gets it off, and here's the fair catch from Boston. And clearly the coaches have told him just to step up and make the fair catch because of that injured left ankle. And he makes it at the 47. So the Buckeyes are 53 yards away, 2:01, although they are out of timeouts.
And it's good to see Katzenmoyer on the sideline with a big smile on his face. This could be his last game as a Buckeye.
Now, you know, the coaches don't agree with you. They think he's coming back.
You know, I think coaches are going to tell you that whether they agree with me or not. They want him to come back, Brent, obviously. But I get a feeling, just talking to him. And
now, you know, Jack Root disagrees with you. He's absolutely.
Jack who?
I'll jump in right after this and give you where I got my information from, guys.
All right. First down and 10. Here's Jermaine. Drops it off to Keller, the fullback, who stops the clock out of it. All right, Scoops. Where'd you get it, Jack?
Well, I'm not going to tell you where I got it, but I'll tell you the scenario. Here's what I was told earlier this week. If Andy Katzenmoyer succeeds in two things. One, today has an outstanding game. And two, somehow AP decides to make Ohio State #1, Andy Katzenmoyer is gone, definitely gone. If those two are not accomplished, well, then the odds favor him returning. Don't forget he's a senior next year.
Second down with Jermaine pulling out, throws, caught by Germany, who caught a touchdown pass to tie the game. Out of bounds at the 30. That's 16 yards, and the Bucks driving again.
Watch this catch by Reggie Germany going against Jason Webster, who's got real tight coverage. Ball is thrown behind Germany and really hard. Boy, he caught that ball in self-defense.
Clock ticking. Jermaine incomplete, bobbled by Kenyon Rambo. And again, it was Cedric Curry, the 6'2 junior out of Houston. And Cedric has been outstanding on that corner here tonight, Dan.
Well, the one thing Rambo has to do, whenever you run a curl pattern or a hook pattern, you can't wait on the ball. Because if you wait on the ball, the defender is not waiting. He's going right at it. And what Curry does is he's going to go right through Rambo. Rambo's got to keep running back to the quarterback. He allowed Curry to get his left hand in and knock the ball away.
So Kevin Griffin comes out the bench as a flanker. He scored a touchdown, remember, on the block punt. He's off to the short side. They're going to flare Wiley, and Wiley breaks free to the 15. Clock will stop on the first down, and it's a 15-yard gain, and the Buckeyes have a chance to score again before the intermission.
And we'll watch the block of number 64 here on the outside. That's Ben Gilbert. Watch his speed getting out in front of the very fast Wiley. He takes care of the linebacker, and Wiley picks up the first down.
Jermaine on a quick count by the jersey. Fumble! And the Bucks alertly jump on it. Kurt Murphy, the center, making his 18th start, saved the moment for the Bucks.
It's going to be a one-hand grab on Joe Germain. And that's the nose guard, Ron Edwards. Now, that's the guy that Murphy was blocking. So if your guy hits the quarterback, you better recover his fumble.
On second down, and it's knocked away. And a penalty flag is thrown against the Aggies this time.
And again, it was a curl pattern. This time, Jason Webster went through the back of David Boston and drew the flag.
Pass interference, first down, the spot of the foul.
Boston trying to get to the inside against Webster. And that right hand around the waist and then the bump in the back just before the ball got there will get you a flag every time.
Now, it's not a half the distance or a 15-yarder because it was inside that distance, but it is an automatic first down for the Bucks at the 15-yard line. And here's Wiley on a draw play. Picked up a couple of yards, perhaps, and no more. The clock down to 40 seconds. Remember, the Bucks do not have any timeouts. They are down to second down. Jermaine, looking end zone, deflected, incomplete, and it is third down as Rich Cody, the strong safety, makes the play.
Well, Cody got burned last time he came on a strong safety blitz on a touchdown pass, Jermaine to Germany, and that time he had really a fine athletic move to jump up and knock it down.
Now, what John does not want to happen is waste all of the seconds if they have a field goal attempt. Remember, no timeouts left for the Bucks. So 23 seconds, and you would expect Jermaine here to take a flyer at the end zone. Under pressure, steps away, fires, incomplete, but the clock stops. Fourth down, 19 seconds, plenty of time now to bring Dan Stultz and the field goal unit out.
Talked about Rich Cody on the play before. 48 is Rich Cody. There he is right there coming on the blitz again. Great play by Jermaine to get away and by Wiley to pick up the safety. Jermaine rushes his throw to Keller, or it would have been a touchdown.
31-yard field goal attempt for Dan. 12 of 22 on the season. Send this one right down the heart of Bourbon Street. 24 unanswered points for the Buckeyes.
You know, they're not working for free, Brent.
You show no mercy. You know, you're a hard man, Mr. Fouts.
What better job could there possibly be than sitting around watching college football all day? I know that's what you and I did.
Keep that to yourself, you know.
I got news for you, buddy. The IRS already knows about this gig.
Oh, yeah, 16 seconds left, and Ohio State, and again to take you back to our storyline, the ESPN coaches poll automatically will crown the winner of the Tennessee-Florida State game on Monday night. There is an outside chance that the Associated Press might, and I just cannot emphasize that enough, Ohio State, because I think it was Tony Barnhart of the Atlanta Constitution said in an informal poll in Tempe the voters would vote Florida State #1 if they win that game Monday night. We shall see. Sir Parker brings it up, but it was a good half. I think the point I really want to make here, this was a good half for Ohio State.
They're halfway to a very impressive win, 24-7, in answering the upset bid, if you will, of that first touchdown by A&M.
Is this Sir Parker just going down on the ball? That's what our producer said. Bob Goodrich down below said at the first look he just might have knocked the wind out. Yeah, that'll happen to those fellas.
Lizzie was really big.
First down. That's it.
I might have called.
How about Louis Kelcher?
Yeah, I was just going to say Louis, Sir Louis Kelcher.
Here's Brandon Stewart. Deep down, Cole, and knocked away by Winfield. Can't make a living picking on number 11, ladies and gentlemen. There's one of the most interesting stories in college football. Only 5'9", 180 pounds, shaken up a little bit on this play. 200 tackles at Ohio State, and you can watch him here ISO'd against the wide man.
And this is almost his first interception of the entire season. You win the Jim Thorpe Defensive Back of the Year trophy, and you don't have any interceptions. He's not tested that often, and when he is, he usually makes the play. But his ability to tackle and make plays in the backfield, he's got a real bright future, I think, on Sundays next year as well.
Yep, the only question about him will be that height. You get those fellows like Randy Moss, there's pretty big wideouts in the NFL now. That is hard. Of course, that's hard for even tall corners now that I think about it. Nate Clemens replaces him on the corner. Here's your final 4 seconds. Here's your last play of the first half, right down the middle in the hole. And that was Spiller. Good pass-catching tight end for 19 yards. And the officials quickly step in there as the first half has come to an end. And a few of the cooler heads take over, but a little hostility there at midfield. But that'll do it, 24-7. The Aggies strike first, but then the Buckeyes come back with 24 unanswered points. John and Todd will be coming up in a moment.
The
the Bowl on Monday night. They deserve to be considered in the Associated Press poll as the top team in the country. But like we said before, you never count out the Aggies of Texas A&M.
Partner, Happy New Year. I think we got a good one brewing here tonight in the Big Easy.
Brent, both teams are led by their quarterback. For Ohio State, Joe Germain has led the OSU transformation from the 3 yards in a cloud of dust to the 300-yard passing game. 4 in a row this season, 7 at all told. Brandon Stewart has resurrected his career with the great win he had against Kansas State. That win was the most influential one in college football this season. Now on defense, both these teams are led by their linebackers. 2 great ones tonight. Dat Win leads the Aggies in tackles, no question about that. But it's 2 other stats that are more important. Tackles for losses and tackles on 3rd down. He is the key. And Brent, this could be the last game in a Buckeye uniform for the Big Cat Andy Katzenmoyer. I know you really love him.
And the 3rd member of our team, Jack Arute, is with John Cooper. Happy New Year, Jack.
Happy New Year to you guys up in the booth as well. Coach Cooper, what kind of a statement do you want to make with your Buckeye team tonight?
Well, first of all, we want to have fun. I want our football team to play as good as we're capable of playing. Show the country what kind of football team the Buckeyes have.
Have you talked to them at all about the outside opportunity of getting a share of the national championship?
We've talked to them more about taking care of controlling what we have control over, beating this fine football team here that we're playing tonight.
Good luck today. Guys?
Jack, Texas A&M wins the toss. They will defer. So the high-powered Buckeyes, averaging 37 points a game, will handle the ball first. R.C. Slocum, gone to bowls 8 times in his 10-year career in Aggie land. One of the fine gentlemen in college football. To know R.C. Slocum, like to know John Cooper, is to like both of them. And we've enjoyed their company here this week. And now they get ready. The Big Ten, lackluster a year ago in the bowls, now unbeaten after Wisconsin comes through in the Rose Bowl. So the Buckeyes hope to make it a sweep. Kenyon Rambo coming out from a yard deep. 10-yard line, swings left, stumbles his way to the 25-yard line. So senior quarterback Joe Germain. And Dan Fouts asked him how he plans to attack the A&M defense here tonight.
First thing that jumps out for Texas A&M's defense is just they got great team speed. You know, they always are flying to the ball and just making plays. So, you know, it's been a long time since we played a game, so it's going to take a, you know, we're going to have to adjust to that, I think, the very beginning of it. But, you know, we're just going to take what they give us. You know, we feel that we got great talent out there at the skill position, so I think we'd be foolish not to try to take advantage of that.
First play to Wiley on the swing, and they will attack the edge where Texas A&M has already been outstanding with Warwick Holman making the stop. Now let's take a look at our Nokia starting lineups. Michael Wiley swinging out. Matt Keller, he's the starting fullback for the Bucks tonight. And here is where they are ever so dangerous with Boston and D. Miller. They've also got Kenyon Rambo out there, and John Lumpkin, a good tight end, behind an offensive line that has started every game this season. Joe Montgomery checks in as a running back. Germain goes downfield high for Miller and incomplete. And it will be 3rd and 5 against this wrecking crew defense. And folks, the carpet is right down their alley. They play a 3-4 for coordinator Mike Hankwitz. There's the 3 down men, but here is where the Aggies come and get you. Now, Dat Win is a legend, but Bradley and Holdman are the 2 names you want to remember tonight, 40 and 43. They will come off the edge on this carpet, and here is where Ohio State must hold the fort against the Aggies. 3rd down and 5. Look at the defensive front that Hankwitz orders up. His linebackers step to it. Germain can't find anybody open and down in a heap, and it's 3 and out for the Bucks.
Joe Germain talked about the long layoff between their last game against Michigan 41 days ago, and this was a big concern as far as their timing was concerned. The pressure, it's a blitz by the Aggies, and Germain can't find anybody. Then he just stumbles over his own offensive lineman and gets a little love tap there. Big defensive series to start the game for the Aggies.
Brent Bartholomew standing back to punt. And the Aggies will use a double safety. Chris Taylor, who's extremely fast, back with Jason Webster, one of the starting corners. This is Taylor signaling for the fair catch, and he makes it at the 41-yard line. So Brandon Stewart, here's a young man who transferred to Texas A&M, was put on the bench midway through this season. Now he came alive against K-State, and we asked him what he wants to do on his first offensive series.
Score. I mean, get some points early, so there's not as much pressure. They have a great offense. Not saying that they're going to score their first 2 minutes, but I think they're pretty talented offensively as well as defense. But I think it helps if you get ahead and kind of take some of that pressure off of getting the first touchdown.
Here's the Aggies' first play. Also a pass on a quick slant fumble, put on down. He is down. The side judge ruling that he was down.
So the Aggies come out with the quick slant to the wide receiver to the far side. And watch Katzenmoyer, number 45, come in here. There's the catch. Katzenmoyer with the hit. I think that ball was loose before he hit the ground. So Andy Katzenmoyer delivers the first hit. He got the fumble recovery, but the officials saw it the other way.
2nd and 3 with the big cat looking in and studying the offense, and I think agreeing with you as he was telling his teammate.
Equipment violation.
We've got an equipment violation, and so we'll take a timeout. We'll take a break here from New Orleans. No score. We're just underway. Timeout. We've just had a violation of Rule 144H. All squad members must wear visible socks or leg coverings that are identical in length, Dan.
And Dante Hall, number 34, had his socks pulled all the way up to his knees. And that little violation cost the Aggies an important timeout on the first play of the game.
Southeastern Conference officiating crew. Al Ford, your referee, noticed that everyone else on the Aggies had the socks down, and thus they are forced to call a timeout. And so Donnie Brunson cuts back sharply, goes back the other way, still breaks free, uncrosses the 30, and he gets it back to the 27-yard line with Ahmad Plummer hanging on. You're looking at a youngster who we noticed in the Big 12 championship game, folks, the way he can cut on artificial turf. It makes a big difference with some runners, especially Dante Hall.
Well, he reminds a lot of people of Barry Sanders, the great Detroit Lion running back. But you're right, Brent, he's hard to see. Low center of gravity. And I bet the Buckeyes wish he still had his socks up high.
Wish the cameraman a lot of luck following him through there. Derek Spiller and Dan Campbell check in. A little double tight end. So a power look, play fake, Brandon Stewart wide open on the far side is Taylor. Plummer was playing soft, cannot do that with Chris Taylor. Our Nokia lineups here with the Aggies on the march behind Brandon Stewart. We will see Sir Parker, the hero, against K-State. Jamar Toombs, a powerful fullback. There's your double tight end look, and Chris Taylor, your receiver, against an offensive line that had one injury question, but Andy Vincent is playing so far tonight. Sir Parker, great receiver, in at tailback. 2nd down and 4 now. He's the fastest man on the Aggie squad. Cuts back beautifully at daylight and hits the hole to the 15, and it is first down with Antoine Winfield holding on. And here come the Aggies.
And Fred Puggett, the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, expected the Aggies to come out as they finished up the Kansas State game with 4 wide receivers, and he didn't really expect them to pound the ball at him. This is 2 big runs for the Aggies now that have hit the Buckeyes right up the middle.
I must say one thing about Texas A&M. I have never seen confidence within a football organization just suddenly explode following that double overtime win. This is a live underdog, as we call it, and I'm here to tell you, Ohio State with its hands full here tonight. That is Toombs, who was recruited unsuccessfully by Ohio State, powering across the 10-yard line, and you can see why the Buckeyes wanted him to come to Columbus. Now, let's take a look at Fred Puggage's defensive lineup. Here's your front 4. Under fire already in this game. 3 linebackers. We talk a lot, of course, about the big cat, but folks, number 32, Niall Diggs, is a star in the making. There is a good secondary. And they, too, are rocking right now on their heels. Second down and 4. And Dante Hall, the quick one, back in at tail for Texas A&M. Coming again. Sprints past the 5. Going for the end zone. Touchdown, Texas A&M. A 9-yard burst by Dante Hall. The Buckeyes better strap it up real tight, folks. This one's going to be tough.
And the Aggies are challenging them, Brent, right up the middle. Behind the block of Jamar Toombs, right there on Rudzinski, and the quickness and the vision of Dante Hall stretching in and getting a big touchdown. Great start defensively and offensively for Texas A&M.
Russell Bynum on for the extra point. Leckler, the punter, puts it down on a beautiful snap, and it's 7-0, and it was Dante Hall, after drawing the timeout, who got this drive rolling with his early run. 6 plays, 59 yards. The Aggies take it home in 2 minutes and 26 seconds. And at the Nokia Sugar Bowl, Texas A&M strikes first. It's such a confidence booster to score the first time you handle the ball with all the fans who are packed inside the Louisiana Superdome. Now Shane Leckler, the punter, puts it down on a hop field by Jonathan Wells, number 28 for the Buckeyes. He got an alley and he cuts back to the 29-yard line. Well, one of the fellas that they're going to try to put the ball in his hands tonight, David Boston, the wide receiver. And Dan asked Boston what the offense needs to do early for Ohio State.
We need to establish a running game first. I mean, we're a well-balanced offensive unit, and our offense and defense complement each other. So I think we need to go out there and run the ball first, and then that'll open up the passing game for us.
So far, they have not tried to establish that running game.
No, they had a couple of passes in that first drive, 3 plays, and then they had to punt.
Michael Wiley and penalty flags. Little movement down there, apparently.
Movement for the offense, 5 yards. 2 first down.
Again, it's a Southeastern Conference officiating crew. John Cooper and the Buckeyes were ranked number 1 for, about 9 weeks until they ran into a buzzsaw in Columbus back in late October. Michigan State ended their championship dreams, but then Ohio State with 2 strong performances against Iowa and overwhelming Michigan. Now they come in and they trail early by 7 points. Kenyon Rambo in as an extra receiver. Jermaine looks one way, cut off beautifully, and knocked away defensively by Ronnie Edwards, the nose guard from Houston.
You know, John Cooper said that his main concern was protecting his quarterback, Joe Jermaine. And so far, we've seen him sacked 1 time. This is just a great job of the defense sniffing out the screen pass. Jermaine wanted to throw the screen there, and now he's just throwing it away. He's lucky that the big fellow there, Ron Edwards, didn't grab that pass and walk into the end zone.
Second down of 50. Haven't the Bulls been great this year, Dan?
Absolutely. A lot of scoring, which I always like, and, you know, a little bit of defense thrown in, but I'll tell you what, that Wisconsin game was certainly thrilling.
The quarterback club. Reggie Germany. It's a 4 wide receiver look for the Buckeyes on this one. Jermaine pump fake, receiver covered, going to come far down that other sideline. Germany incomplete. Incomplete. And Cedric Curry, the corner, covering him, and he was all over him.
Of course, Curry had that huge interception against Nebraska that sealed the upset win for the Aggies. And this defensive secondary, we talk a lot about their safeties, Jennings and Cody, but the last couple of games, especially against Kansas State, Curry and Webster on the corners have been just outstanding.
And it looks like they've been doing a job here tonight because Jermaine's had to come off his wideouts.
That is exactly right. When you see the quarterback pull the ball down, that means his first and maybe a second read were taken away by tight coverage.
You bet. 3rd and 15. Lumpkin, the tight end, trying to run down the hole. Jermaine comes back to the other side. D. Miller wide open against the zone. First down, Ohio State, and into A&M territory to the 48. That is a 28-yard pass play from Jermaine to senior D. Miller.
Brent, you said it was a zone, and that's exactly what it was. Watch the coverage here, deep and short. Miller comes down, and this is the dead area. The tight end is going to try to get down the middle of the field for Ohio State. But this is the first time that the Aggies have decided to go to zone. and I wouldn't think they'd want to do this too often. When you've got two wide receivers as good as Miller and Boston, that opens up the middle of the field for Lumpkin as well.
We'll see if they come back with Wiley. They do. Sprints to the right side and rush for 8 yards. Remember, this is a young man who averages better than 6 yards every time he touches the ball. Rich Cody, the senior strong safety, making the stop for A&M.
And in the biggest game of the year for Ohio State, Michael Wiley averaged 10 yards a carry against Michigan. 120 yards on 12 totes that game, and a touchdown run.
Huge crowd here tonight, approaching a capacity. Folks showed up, started standing in the top row early on, especially the Aggie fans who hadn't been here since New Year's 1940. Wisniewski, the other tight end, is an H-back in motion. Here's Wiley, slips a tackle, picks up the first down inside the 35-yard line. Dat Wynn making the stop. NFL playoffs start tomorrow, and on ABC, a doubleheader. You'll have the Buffalo Bills going down to Miami, take on the Dolphins, and in the second game, Arizona against Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys. That's all tomorrow. The doubleheader, the wild card weekend, and so things start to get exciting in your former employers' offices around the country.
Yeah, and you know what, Brent? How can you not think about Jake Plummer and not think about the Rose Bowl?
Oh, what a performance in that game. And Ohio State, and it was Joe Germain to Boston, which won the game for the Bucks, and Germain earned MVP. Now he's back, fired right over there. Is Boston on cue. Nice setup, Dan. Down to the 18-yard line, and Brandon Jennings, the free safety, with a stop for Texas A&M.
Yeah, the thing that impresses me about Joe Germain this year is his touch and his timing. This is a hook pattern. Again, it's against a zone coverage. You see Boston get inside the linebacker there in front of the safety, and that ball is just zipped to him perfectly. He makes an easy catch and gets the first down.
First down and 10 from the 18-yard line. Here's Germain on a deep drop. Goes toward Miller, one-handed out of bounds, out of the back of the end zone.
That offensive line did a great job of protecting Joe Germain on that play, because this took a long time for the receiver to come all the way down here into the back of the end zone. But just watch the job the offensive line does. Again, there's no blitz. It's interesting to see how Mike Hankwitz has gone away from the blitz and is playing more zone for A&M.
Second down and 10. There's the offensive line. What a luxury. They've started every game together as a unit for the Bucks. Lumpkin now the H-man. Germain stands tall. Touchdown, Germany. Penalty flag thrown by the line judge on the near side. An 18-yard scoring strike. And it's going to be a touchdown.
Holding against the defense.
So Reggie Germany, the sophomore, with his 4th touchdown of the season on a strike from Joe Germain, his 25th TD.
Rich Cody on the safety blitz. Germain hanging tough in the pocket, and Germany gets inside on a post route. Easy touchdown for Ohio State.
So after giving up a quick score, the Buckeyes march right back. 71 yards, 8 plays, 219, and Dan Stultz adds the extra point, and we are deadlocked at the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Watch Reggie Germany, a sophomore, a bright future. Cuts quickly to the post. Beats the corner easily, and we're tied. Timeout. Between football practices, he runs track for the Buckeye team. He ran the 110-meter high and the 400-meter dash. So we're talking about a young man with a bright future. He's got the one thing you need on that outside: speed. Can't coach it. Can only recruit it. Stultz hangs it high. And here is Sir Parker coming out from the 4-yard line for the Aggies. Swarmed all over from the 18-yard line. Now let's take a moment to look at Nokia's Best Connection flashback featuring the 97 Nokia Sugar Bowl. Florida State took on Florida. It was 1 versus 2 for the national championship. This stop on a dime catch by Ike Hilliard. propelled the Gators. It was the first of his 3 TDs, and Florida wins the national championship 52-20.
That still is one of the greatest moves I've ever seen in football, Brent, to be able to catch a ball while you're in the air and come down and stop and let everybody go by and walk in the end zone.
You bet. First down now, the Aggies, 81 yards away. Brandon Stewart roll, and wide open is Spiller, one of his 2 tight ends. And he is forced out of bounds at the 26-yard line by senior strong safety Damon Moore, who led this Buckeye team in tackles. Here is a young man who was actually thinking of quitting Ohio State at the end of last year. He was disappointed with his performance, but he has come back and he has played like the young Damon Moore. Dan, I think you and I agree, he's one of the better safeties that we run into.
And how do you play in the big games? Well, 12 tackles against the Wolverines.
As far as Buckeye fans are concerned, nothing bigger than that. Dante Hall, 2nd and 2, gets the call. Here he is on a cutback, and very quickly moved up to help the linebacker, and that is Niall Diggs. I think maybe you just got a glimpse of the future as far as the Buckeyes are concerned. The way Diggs can flash like this is big time, folks.
Well, he may be as quick as Dante Hall. One thing, he's a lot bigger, 6'4", 235, plays off the block, and that's an outstanding play. And watch how now the Buckeyes will crowd the line of scrimmage to shut off that run. Now they've got a peek at what the Aggies want to do.
3rd and 5. Slot man is Leroy Hodge for Brandon Stewart. Short drop, fired high and incomplete. Bumgarner, who made that great catch against Kansas State, can't hang on. The ball was actually thrown a little bit high. That allowed Ahmad Plummer to tighten up on the body pretty good.
Yeah, when you throw that slant pattern, a quarterback has got to throw the ball right to the nose of the receiver. Don't let him have any chance of having to expose his body and think about the potential hit coming.
Here is Shane Leckler. And David Boston, we didn't expect him to return in punts. Got an injured left ankle, rather heavily taped, and Coach Cooper thought he might give him that part of the game off, but it was not to be. Fair catch is signaled for by David, sure-handed. And this was the issue with John Cooper. Do I tell David to go out there, he's got the experience, and just fair catch the punter, or do I use the youngster? He wanted experience. Timeout. Back at the Louisiana Superdome. Dan Fouts and Jack Arute. I'm Brent Musburger. Nice to have you along with us here this evening. Joe Germain a year ago was roughed up pretty good by the Seminoles of Florida State, but here tonight he's 4 of 8 for 67 yards and that scoring strike, the young Reggie Germany. Little change at the line. Matt Keller tells the running back, and here comes Wiley on a quick cut inside the linebacker beautifully. And down around first down territory with Dat Wynn making the stop. Now, Jermaine and Stanley Jackson were sacked 6 times a year ago as Bobby Bowden brought the heat from the outside. Andre Wadsworth moving way up on the draft. And Dan, I know you and I marveled at how Jermaine hung in.
Well, in all these shots here, he got rid of the ball, so these don't count in those 6 sacks. He got absolutely murdered, but never complained. He just went back and kept doing his job and made him a better quarterback this year.
Here comes Wiley again, breaking off that first hit and cruising toward another off to a strong start. Is our young running back, Michael Wiley.
Well, and we talked about how Dante Hall loves the carpet. I don't know a tailback in the country that doesn't like playing on this plastic stuff, because the footing is so exact, and we can make those sharp cuts and beat the defenders to the punch.
Dan, what have you seen with the A&M secondary here early on against Jermaine?
Well, the first series, they came and they blitzed him a whole lot and got to him one time. He was knocked down in 1 sack, and then the second series, decided to play more zone, but ironically, on the touchdown pass to Germany, Rich Cody was in a safety blitz. So right now, Mike Jacobs, the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, is outguessing the defensive coordinator for A&M, Mike Hankwitz.
There is Jacobs upstairs. Coordinates the offense, formerly the Don Nealon staff over at West Virginia. Then with John Cooper now for several years. And there is Hankwitz calling the defensive plays for the Aggies on that far side. Brought the 3-4 back to Aggie land. he was concerned about the balance being presented by Ohio State. He said in the old days, I remember Hankwitz was a linebacker for Bo Schembechler, you always stop the run first with Ohio State. But here, no, because of this. In the pocket, standing tall, and here is Boston. And that one will be marked first down at the 46-yard line of the Aggies. Curry making the stop. And now suddenly we see the weapons for Ohio State starting to step up here.
Well, you're seeing Boston playing on a bad ankle. That was a real good, solid tackle by Cedric Curry. You got to wonder if Boston hadn't slipped on some ice in Dallas over the vacation, if he would have been able to spin away, because when he caught the ball, he had a big cushion in front of Cedric Curry.
Single safety. Cody steps up to support the run on first down. And now, as Jermaine calls out of it, Cody was going to back away, but he doesn't. He stays up tight. Pass play to Boston, but they pick up 5 yards. Well, Monday night. And the game that we've all been waiting for this holiday season, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. #1 Tennessee against #2 Florida State, the BCS. And of course, a reminder, get your computer on. We got a little enhanced TV during that game. It will debut, so don't miss it, on ESPN.com. In other words, watch the Fiesta Bowl, listen to Keith and Bob, turn on the computer, dial up ESPN, and you get some extra stats as the game unfolds. And Montgomery breaks free. 10-yard line. First and goal. Buckeyes. Webster saves the touchdown as Joe Montgomery bolts 24 yards.
Joe Montgomery showing the speed that he's totally recovered from his knee problems. It's a little counter. Well blocked. Tyson Walter there, number 77, with a crushing block. We haven't called Dat Wynn's name yet because he hadn't been able to make any tackles because of that offensive line.
There's Tyson, number 77, 6'5", 305 pounds. Across that front, they go 305, 290, 295, 290, and 293. Here comes Montgomery again. Pounding, wouldn't be stopped. Touchdown, Ohio State leads for the first time on a 10-yard bolt. Brings a great dimension to this Ohio State team, having a backup with that sort of talent and ability.
And desire. This is Joe Montgomery's last game as a Buckeye, and he couldn't be happier than he is right now. 2 big plays right up the middle for Ohio State.
And Dan Stoltz, 6 plays, 71 yards, 241. The Buckeyes have thrown for a touchdown. They have run for their second score. And just like that, they strike back and take a lead here at the Nokia Sugar Bowl. And remember, this is a team that wants to make a statement to voters everywhere, just in case Monday night comes up a little flat.
That offensive line shows they can protect for the quarterback and watch them blow another big hole in the Aggie defense. And Montgomery, the classic north and south runner, sees that goal line, and that's where he's headed. Real good combination between Wiley and Montgomery, as Wiley can give you the moves on the outside and Montgomery can give you the power in the end.
#1, I'm not going to try to hype this for Ohio State. They don't need me to do that for them if they beat Tennessee come Monday night. But if that game is low scoring and flat and there's a fluke, the Buckeyes want to at least present their case. And now it is Sir Parker for Texas A&M. Down to the 19-yard line. And Jack, that's a wonderful story, watching Joe Montgomery bolt into the end zone.
Well, Brent, Joe's dealt with an assortment of roadblocks, from gaining too much weight to the injuries you alluded to, all the way down to being in the coach's doghouse now and again. That's why he's had tattooed on his arm, "Against all odds."
And indeed it is against all odds. Just recently, the NCAA denying him an extra year. Remember, this is a young man who didn't qualify academically when he came to Ohio State. That was back in the time when he couldn't even practice with the team, so he lost an entire year. And you got a feel for youngsters like that. They don't get a chance to play out their career because he lost another season with a knee injury. Brandon Stewart, diving reception at the 24-yard line as Chris Taylor picks it off the carpet.
what Joe Montgomery's gone through is a lot of emotional distress with the Prop 48 situation, but the physical problem with the knees and having to come back and rehab. People just don't realize what athletes go through to get back on the field. And then for him to have a senior season as he has had and be able to cap it off with a touchdown here in the first quarter, that's just great.
Let's see if they call Parker's number. Yes, he's going in motion. Coming out as the tailback. The safety Moore picks him up, and they run through sort of a one-back look, and the Buckeyes jump on it as though they expected that play. So certainly nothing surprising there from the 258-pound freshman fullback.
Well, watch Katzenmoyer, Brent. You're exactly right. He sees something. He knows that the big fullback's coming right to him. Imuli gets a block on him, but that entire Ohio State defense slanted right to that hole. So somebody along that defensive front, probably Katzenmoyer, made the right audible on defense.
It's a 3rd and 6 with Toombs set in front of Parker. Now he slips out as a receiver. This time a corner picks him up, and they look in that direction. Parker's got it on the slant, short of the first down as Berry, the safety, up to make a whale of a stop on that play.
And Aggie fans will remember that play, Brent, because that's the play that got them the win against Kansas State. Motioning Sir Parker out of the backfield, trying to get a one-on-one situation with a safety or a linebacker. Gary Berry is a great tackler, and he keeps Parker short of that first down by just a yard.
David Boston and his sure hands back to field this punt from Leckler, an outstanding punter. Touchdown, Ohio State. Just like that, the Buckeyes, with their 3rd touchdown of the game, Kevin Griffin, the captain of the special teams, scoops it up and dashes in for the score. Ohio State hits with the pass, the run, and now the special teams. Stoltz adds his 3rd extra point of the opening quarter. So Texas A&M delivers an early wake-up call, and now the Buckeyes respond.
Watch Derek Ross, number 37. He's got a free run right to the foot of Shane Leckler. Too much speed on the outside, gets beyond Rich Cody there. And there's Griffin scooping it up and getting in the end zone. But this is why the Buckeyes were number 1 in the country for 9 straight weeks until they lost to Michigan State. Offense, defense, and now special teams.
Making a pretty good argument, aren't they, folks? Remember, the Big Ten is enjoying a fabulous bowl run, 4-0, and a chance to go 5-0 for the first time in the conference's history. And tell the truth, how many of you thought the Big Ten might be down just a little bit this season? Thought they might be a little soft, huh? They've done everything they could against the Big 12, against the SEC today. It's an amazing run, especially when you consider last year.
And you know, Brent, Derek Ross is no stranger to blocking punts. Got one in the Michigan game and partially blocked one in the Michigan State game.
Goodness, he swallowed this one. Man, almost intercepted it off the foot. Sir Parker down at the 21-yard line. Let's check in now with Jackaroo down below. Jack.
Brent, John Cooper may not want to talk about the national championship aspirations, but the team, many of the players that I talked to in pregame warm-up said they have sat around here in New Orleans and have discussed all the possibilities. I asked them, why didn't the coach talk to you about it? He says, we knew about it. He knew we did too. He said he didn't have to worry about telling us.
And you know, Jack, you've got to go way back to 1965 here in the Sugar Bowl to find when a blocked punt resulted in a touchdown. Syracuse Brad Clark, 28 yards against LSU. That was the last time back in the 60s. Here on the pitch plane out of Dante Hall. Cuts through Plummer. Scoots for about 8 yards on that play. The Aggies surrender 3 touchdowns in less than 6.5 minutes. The exact time for Ohio State. 6 minutes, 23 seconds, and the master blocker.
But you know, Brent, the Aggies have Ohio State right where they want them. With a big lead.
So dad of the defense watching with Brandon Stewart. And a quarterback, still another comeback, and this time they are able to pound right straight ahead for the first down using the fullback, James Cotton, making the play for Puggage's defense. There is Brandon Stewart. You could not be happier for any young man. He went to Tennessee. Remember, he started ahead of Peyton Manning early on as a freshman, then lost the job to Peyton. Transferred down to Texas A&M. In his first game as a starter for R.C. Slocum, he lit up BYU in a great Pigskin Classic. But then this year, he lost his job to Randy McCown and didn't regain it until McCown fractured his collarbone against Texas. He engineered the great upset of Kansas State. Now it's all uphill again. Little low. And it was the tight end Derek Spiller coming out across the middle, and it'll be 2nd and 10.
And good pressure that time by the Buckeye defense as they came on a blitz right into Stewart's face. He's completed 5 passes tonight out of 7 throws, but he's not getting a whole lot out of his completions. Only 30 yards for those 5 completions.
There is Fred Puggage. Once upon a time, he was the leading receiver at Ohio State. That's right, as a tight end. I will not tell you his number. It does not compare well with David Boston's. But in those days, remember, Woody Hayes was called.
I don't think 9 receptions compares well with anybody.
Brandon Stewart to Dante on a screen. The running back does it, but he is well short.
Great play by Matt LeVar, who is part of that 9-man rotation on the defensive line for Ohio State. He's given Rodney Bailey a spell there. And this is part of what Fred Puggage and the Ohio State Buckeyes learned last year from Florida State in this very game. You got to have your defensive linemen fresh throughout the game. And with the depth that Ohio State has, you're seeing the results with that fine play by LeBron.
No team in this decade has recruited any better than Ohio State and John Cooper. Terry Cross came out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. He delivers again.
On that clock and know exactly what he has to do. Right between the goalposts, right next to the beer sign.
2nd down and 15. Here's Rudzinski coming. And down with the 2nd sack of the game. The Bucks collapse on Stewart. Rodney Bailey, he had 7 tackles for losses in the Bucks' last 3 games, and that's a 7-yard loss on the sack.
And he's coming from right up the middle. Gets inside of Rex Tucker, and then finds his way to the quarterback's legs. And that's a big play because that pushes the Aggies back to where if they have to try a field goal from here, it's a real long shot.
And no Sir Parker to escape from the backfield this time either. Here's 3rd down. Incomplete. And Spiller draws the flag again. That is going to be a huge pass interference call against the Bucks. An automatic 1st down on 3rd and 21.
Now you read your lips there. Coop's asking what's happening.
Holding on the defense. 10-yard penalty plus an automatic 1st down.
Third and 21, and you get a holding penalty in the secondary right there. Damon Moore on the tight end.
Looks like a pretty good job by Spiller of taking it right to Damon and say, hey, where's the flag? But they're going to have to straighten the chain out over there. This was an automatic 1st down because it was 21 yards to go. And it was holding rather than interference. They get 10, but it's automatic 1st down.
Yep.
Now Dante Hall is the lone Aggie running back. The call and smothered by Diggs. Niall Diggs said, "How do you do there, young man?"
This is what you call a run blitz. Watch Diggs see the hole open and then smother Dante Hall with help from Rudzinski on the outside. But that is a big play by Niall Diggs.
2nd down and 12 on the 2-yard loss. Taylor goes off to the left along with Leroy Hodge, who's now going to have to, well, they're going to call a timeout. They had too many men on the field. 12 men on the field, too many receivers. So the Aggies use a timeout. We'll take a break. 24-7 Ohio State. Watch this. This is what Derek Spiller did to my defensive back. Look at this. Now that's offensive interference. My man's got no chance if he runs on into him, and pretty good case, but Spiller did a good job acting on it, Dan.
Yeah, Coop can also argue that the ball was uncatchable, way overthrown by Brandon Stewart.
2nd down and 12. 6:15 left in the third. 24-7. The Aggies trailing the Buckeyes. Using Hodge toward the line of scrimmage. Throw back, and now the fullback rumble, and Toombs out of bounds. It's 1st and goal, Texas A&M. 17 yards. Jamar Toombs, the 260-pound freshman.
Well, they have 5 first downs on this drive, and that's only the second one they've gotten without the aid of Ohio State committing penalties. So Ohio State has nobody to blame but themselves for the Aggies crawling back into this ball game.
Pair of tights. Taylor off to the left, draws Plummer one-on-one. Dante Hall is right behind Toombs, the ball carrier, for a couple of yards, with Mike Collins making the Ohio State stop.
The Aggie fans are looking into their future right now with Jamar Toombs. When you combine him with Dante Hall, that'll be a heck of a 1-2 punch for the Aggies next year.
You get the feeling that a lot of teams might see Toombs lining up in that tailback spot too, down the road sometime. Pretty good speed, put him behind another fullback. There'll be some power in there. They offset the big fella. Stewart got Hodge. Hodge, end zone, Aggies, touchdown. Beautifully crafted play. Here they come again, folks.
Here comes Hodge to the inside. He's going to fake a pick and then just keep going. Nobody to pick on. A great job of Stewart waiting for him and hitting him with a great pass.
And Bynum responds with an extra point. 5:24 to go in the third. And the Aggies doing what they usually do, rallying timeout. So the Aggies drive to within 10, 68 yards, 11 plays. And remember, Ohio State intercepted a pass during that drive that was nullified, and the Aggies were given a first down on the holding penalty. So Wells and Rambo are back deep for Leckler, who hangs it high but short. And Rambo steps up to the 12-yard line, looks left, and he's down at the 22-yard line. Dan, let's go back to that interesting touchdown.
Well, normally when a guy comes in motion like this, you're trying to hit a guy out in the flat and he's supposed to pick. This is a real veteran play by Brandon Stewart. He sees that there's nobody for Hodge to get in front of, and throws the ball right to him, right into his vision, so he can make the easy catch and not worry about taking a hit.
And it looks, as you watch him dive into the end zone, you could see that Johnson was forced to come back, and the reason why we've got a conference, there was a little pushing and shoving going on down below after that return. So this crew from the Southeastern Conference will sort this out.
After the play was over, personal foul on the return team. He's half the distance to goal line, 1st and 10.
Dan, I think we have to say Ohio State's killing themselves right now.
There's no question. And if you go back to that nullified interception, remember, it was 3rd down and 21. So they get the penalty and the automatic first down with it, and then go in and score.
And look at the 12th man. The great crowd, Aggie fans across the way. I mean, they are up now, and it is not going to be easy for the Buckeyes to be heard down in this corner. Across the way, that entire section on its feet. And, of course, Aggie fans never sit down.
And they never quit.
Montgomery checks back in. Play fake. Jermaine snaps it off Boston, short of the first down, and Curry, the defensive back, shoves him out after about an 8-yard gain. And, you know, I think Curry is shaken up.
Yeah.
I think Curry is going to take himself out of the ball game right now. He's hurt. Might have been a little turf toe. Yes, he is. He's going out of the game. We've got another penalty flag. And they got to tend to that young man in a hurry. This time, we got one big penalty being marked off against the Aggies. John's been lobbying pretty hard down there for a little makeup.
Big concern, though, for the Aggies is what about Cedric Curry? Looked like it was a leg injury, and it looked like it happened after he shoved Boston out of bounds.
That's Jay Brooks, a redshirt freshman who comes over to the corner, and right away Jermaine will test him high, Boston. And so Brooks forced to make a play with Curry receiving medical attention. It did not take the coaches in the booth long to attack that young corner, I'll tell you. Jackaroo, what's the situation?
Well, Brett, they're going to work on Cedric Curry, and they'll evaluate him. But Sir Parker has 2 cracked ribs. He is out for the rest of the game. And as far as Spiller is concerned, he passed the doctor's test. As far as the concussion, they said you can go back in.
2nd and 4, and Montgomery to the 41-yard line. So our man Jackaroo has been one of the busiest men in New Orleans here tonight, dashing from one side to the next and keeping us up to date on all these fellas who've been falling down there. And it's always nice to have somebody down below, because sometimes it's hard to get that information otherwise. 3rd down and 2. Ball is at the 41-yard line. Keller and Montgomery. Montgomery will pound for it and nothing doing. Dat Win hitting first. Montgomery still going. Came all the way around to the other side before he was put down. Jay Brooks. But it was Dat Win who sealed up the initial hole for the Aggies.
Boy, just a great job by a couple of seniors on each side. Watch Dat Win with his big hit right about here. But Joe Montgomery refuses to be tackled. He bounces off half the Aggie defense and just comes up short.
Bartholomew back to punt. And they will send Webster and Taylor deep. And the quick report from the sideline is that Cedric Corner will return in the next defensive series. Bartholomew booms one, and Taylor makes a fair catch inside the 15-yard line at the 14. So our Tostitos team comparison here tonight. The Ohio State Buckeyes backer, Katzenmoyer and Rudzinski and Diggs. Stewart with the pocket collapsing, throws it to Hodge, complete. So after going without a catch throughout most of the game, Hodge makes a touchdown catch, and now his 2nd grab of the game.
And the key with this one, we talked about curl patterns and coming back to the quarterback to keep the defensive back away from the ball. That's exactly what Hodge does. No way Plummer can make a play on that ball because Hodge kept running back to Stewart.
Chris Cole is being shut down tonight. Winfield will take him one-on-one left side defensively for the Bucks. Inside handoff, and here's Toombs rumbling to the 41-yard line for an Aggie first down. That's 18 yards, and I think they have found the man they want to go down the stretch with right now, Dan.
Remember, they lost Sir Parker, but Toombs is really filling up the bridge there. Watch this play on the outside. This is Barry. He's going to come up on the blitz, and he's got a shot at Toombs. Dips his head. Pretty nifty move for a guy that weighs 260 pounds.
9 carries, 52 yards. He'll take a well-deserved break right now. 3 wide receivers, including Bumgardner and Dante Hall, the lone running back. Bumgardner, and he hangs on. Made one of the great catches that I've seen all season in that Big 12 championship game when he laid out going in. That was a dandy.
Let's take a look at it. Going against the best in the nation, Antoine Winfield. But it's the layout and shielding Winfield away from the ball with his body that made the catch.
First catch of this game, 2nd down and 4 for the Aggies. Stewart, pressure from Rudzinski. Got Campbell. Campbell to the 32-yard line on the blitz. So Brandon Stewart hanging tough. Hits Campbell for 21 yards.
And Dan Campbell right here, right down the field. There's the blitz you talked about from Rudzinski, 35. A little bit too late. And Campbell gets just his 8th catch of the season.
Ball at the 33-yard line. Brinkley is the motion man. Play fake. Stewart in trouble. Has to throw it out. Incomplete. And it was Campbell. Coming back across. So again, the national championship, at least in one poll, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. And again, a reminder, get that computer out by the television set and turn on ESPN.com. You get extra graphics as the game unfolds. I think you've even got a chance to predict what they might do during that game. So you might want to try that. That sounds like some fun. 2nd down and 10. Hodge is slotted to the right. Taylor is outside of him. Brandon Stewart. Short drop. Fires. Bumgardner knocked away beautifully by Plummer. Good play by Plummer.
Excellent play as he breaks on the ball. First he reads the quarterback's 3-step drop, and then he locates the ball and uses his speed. We talked about makeup speed. We've seen a pretty good example of it from all 4 of our cornerbacks this evening.
Here's a big call for the Aggies with time running out here in the 3rd quarter. Here's a 3rd down and 10. Down by 10 points. Stewart, incomplete. And the flag thrown by the linesman. I thought the right tackle might have moved just a little bit early on that play.
Before the ball was snapped, movement by the offensive line. 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Actually, that is a break for the Aggies.
Yeah, gives them another play.
And in a very peculiar way, that gives them a play. It does push them back if you're thinking field goal, however, but they do get a shot here.
And it's because it was before the ball was snapped. There was no play. There was no incompletion, so the defense had no choice.
Craig Thorpe with a tough call. 3rd and 15. 5 defensive backs on the field. And a defensive line that is not giving Stewart a whole lot of time back there. Play action and hit and down. Hit by the big cat, rolling in. Dan, I'm surprised they went to play action on that one, my friend.
Well, play action sometimes gives you better pass protection. But Katzenmoyer, playing as he did when he was a freshman, just turning it loose. Coming right through the gap. Nobody picks him up. Dante Hall is no match for the big cat.
So the Aggies threaten, but are forced back on a big play by Katzenmoyer. Leckler punting, Boston back deep. He hangs one high. Inside the 20, but the Aggies cannot get to it. Coming out on the 20-yard line, 45-yard punt. Still 6 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter.
That was a good job by Boston, not going over to where the ball was kicked. He decoyed the Aggie coverage men, thinking that the ball was going to land near him. and they couldn't get to it once it hit the ground.
Katzenmoyer making a key third down stop in the first half, and now a key sack here in the second half. So he has made 2 huge plays against Slocum's Aggies. 6 seconds. That's all that's left of the third quarter. Jermaine middle goes deep. Cody can't get to it. And it is 2nd down and 10. And we come to the end of the third quarter. So the Big Cat, he's been under the microscope for 3 years. Now he steps up with a huge sack. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station. 7-12 Kansas State coming into the fourth. Here it's only 10. And Joe Germain, what a week he has had here in New Orleans, both personally and now professionally. On 2nd and 10, throws the flare to Wiley, and he is out of bounds. You see the third quarter comparison.
Now the Aggies have had the ball for most of that third quarter, and this is really key for them when you also factor in all those penalties against Ohio State that really gave the Aggies life and pretty good field position.
Third down. Aggies stack the box, but Jermaine throws it out to Boston for the first down. So I said personally, Joe Germain had a big week. My friend Oprah Fouts talked to his fiancée Lori along with Joe about their big week in the Big Easy.
We were on a picnic and we were just playing catch because we always play, and then we pass around. And it's not like just pass. You got to hit him on stride or it's not a good pass, right?
Yeah.
We were just playing catch with the football, and then he ran over to me and he said, "Hey, try and throw this." And he got down on his knee and had this spot. Opened it up, and that was the first.
Oh, God, this is great.
Well, Oprah Fouts, did they set a wedding date? Did they invite you, or what's the deal?
Well, if I got that on the air, I was going to get an invitation. I'm not sure. She held up her hand, and there's a beautiful engagement ring on her finger. And it's a big week, as you said, for both Joe and Lori.
She was not happy with that sack the Aggies just recorded. And Dat now with 8 tackles, and he has 1 sack. So not to be outdone by the Big Cat. Here's your 2nd down and 11. And here's Wiley sprinting, and that wind tripped him up at the 35-yard line. Well, Jackaroo, that Aggie defense got to hang tough now, my friend.
Brent, have you ever heard the story about an employer that walks in, fires the whole office, and says anybody that wants to work, come back the next day? Well, that's exactly what Bill Johnson told his defensive linemen. He said, this is a critical series. If you don't play the way I think you should play, I'll replace each and every one of you next time out.
He's bluffing.
But I think he got their attention.
I do too. Third down. 5 yards to go. Jermaine, time, first down. Boston. So he's going to the big man now. And Brooks playing that corner, the redshirt freshman.
10 catches now for Boston. And again, he uses that big body of his 6'3", 215, working against Jay Brooks, who's only 5'9" and 180. Guy turned his shoulders there, kept the defensive back away from the ball. That's a veteran play. And that's a play that he could make in that league that plays on Sundays.
Well, they're going to miss Curry because they're just going to work on Brooks. They're putting Wiley over there now, the running back. Jermaine looking that direction, coming back. Here's Boston, who is lined up there with him to the 33. And the absence of Cedric Curry is really damaging the Aggie defense. That's 20 more yards.
And this shows you the arm strength of Joe Germain. Again, it's good pass protection so he can really see. Look at the lane he can see through. puts it on a line for Boston just before Dat Wynn can make a play on it.
So Curry, number 18, forced to watch. A redshirt freshman. Wiley. You know, Dan, one of the other things, we talk about the pass all the time on the corner. One of the things good coaches will do, you get the running game headed in that direction too, and bring some force out against that young man and see if he can defend the run. And the Buckeyes were headed over to the left side that time. So the Buckeyes going right for the jugular here. They didn't hesitate when they saw the redshirt freshman still out there.
Well, Brooks did start 7 games this year for the Aggies, but it's been a while since he's been under fire as he is right now. This is a very concentrated attack against Jay Brooks.
Second down and 7. Here's the draw with Keller and a fine play on the inside. Read perfectly by Cornelius Anthony, number 46.
And this is where you really got to be careful with the Aggie defense. They're so good at stripping balls and forcing turnovers. Against Kansas State, Cornelius Anthony came up with that big fumble recovery of Michael Bishop's that was caused by Warwick Holdman, the other linebacker.
It is a 3rd and 9. And the nickel man, Michael Jamison, checks in to give the Aggies an extra defensive back. Inside handoff. Keller tried to surprise him. Nothing doing. Down at the 30-yard line, about a 47-yard field goal attempt for Stultz coming up.
And his longest on the year is just 46. He does have a 55-yarder in his career at Ohio State. But this is always a little bit iffy when you push a field goal kicker right to his limit.
Roger Riley does put the official stamp on it. Here's a 47-yarder. Bartholomew, the holder. He's got some distance. Off the upright and no good. Oh my. And there's those Aggies hanging tough again. Stairs during commercials. For a time, the Buckeyes had the nickel man. Then the Aggies changed their personnel, came back with 2 tight ends, and right away the nickel man is off the field for the Buckeyes, so they will play with 4 defensive backs, 3 linebackers. Play fake Stewart. Stewart going to put it up on first down. Goes deep middle. Taylor, no, incomplete. Overthrew him, and there were 3 scarlet jerseys back there. Didn't surprise anyone.
No, both Brandon Stewart and Joe Germain have tried this about 6 or 7 times this evening, trying to get the deep ball. But every time they do, they let it go. But there's always 2 or 3 defensive backs escorting their receiver down the field. Now that chess game continues, Brent, as the Buckeyes come with their nickel defense.
And that means Nate Clemens, the freshman, is back in as the 5th defensive back on 2nd and 10. Stewart, short drop, fires middle, got Spiller tight end, and he battles his way across the 45. Tough youngster. Took about $3 to finally bring him down after 17 yards. Give you an idea of how the Aggies play in the 4th quarter. During their last 2 games against Texas and Kansas State, they outscored those 2 32-10 in the 4th quarter.
And Spiller caught 4 passes against Kansas State that really was key, because his ability to occupy the safeties in the middle of the field will open it up for the outside receivers.
Inside of 10 minutes, Aggies are down 10. Toombs, daylight, 45, off Berry, and battling for a first down, Texas A&M. Big 12 defensive coordinators, get ready. For the next couple years, you'll be seeing a lot of this young man.
Well, I watched the key block here. Number 38 is Will Simpson. He's the other fullback, taking Niles Diggs out of the play. And the fullback, that's at 240 and 260 going for the Aggies, running the ball.
Bumgardner, Brinkley, and Hodge, the 3 wideouts. Delayed blitz over Toombs.
That's a lateral.
And the Bucks jump it. Ohio State recovers the lateral. Jerry Rudzinski.
the academic All-America, comes up with a heady play, realizing right away it was a lateral, and number 35 pounces on it.
First turnover of the game for either team. And watch this ball. Clearly is going backwards to Jamar Toombs. Heads up by Ruzinski. Smart play from a smart player.
9:15. And this play could be the biggest of the game for both sides. Germain, play fake, overthrows Boston, and it'll be 2nd down and 10. Well, the winner of the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. That was kind of fun this year, when all is said and done, especially that playoff Saturday, the way things unfolded.
Well, there's nothing like opening a newspaper on a Monday morning after all the NFL games and seeing the headlines talking about the BCS.
2nd down and 10. Here's Wiley, battling to the 45-yard line.
And you know, excuse me, Brent, but if we go back to this play, if Jamar Toombs doesn't really make a good effort to catch this ball, the ball's going to go out of bounds. And the Aggies will still have the ball. So Toombs is penalized for giving too much effort.
One of those misfortunes which you can't explain. And Wiley shaken up.
Well, he doesn't look good either. He cannot put any weight on that right leg.
So that'll put the running back burden squarely on the shoulders of Joe Montgomery, who has played well here today. Montgomery's carried 7 times for 86 yards. Scored one of the Bucs' touchdowns. He's lined up on 3rd and 8. Backs are split. And down he goes in the arms of Dat Nguyen. The Vietnamese-American makes a huge play for the Aggies.
Now, you know, he only had 5.5 sacks on his career. Tonight he's got 2, and both of them were huge plays. None bigger than that one, because that'll give his offense back the ball.
Now let's see what the Aggies elect to do. They'll send 2 deep men, Webster and Taylor. Bartholomew standing inside the Ohio State 35-yard line. 8:02 on the clock. 24-14, Ohio State. Off the side of his foot. But takes a Buckeye bounce and goes out of bounds at the 16-yard line. Dat Nguyen, over 500 career tackles. What a career. Timeout.
Every time I hear you say that, I jump up and go and get you one. Gonna have to wait, pal.
7:46 left, and there are 2 fine linebackers. The big cat back on the field. Dat Nguyen watching. 1st down and 10 for the Aggies. You would think now, on this drive, they would need either a field goal or a touchdown to stay alive. Deflected. 2nd down and 10. And our FedEx game summary on this Nokia Sugar Bowl.
Well, it was all Ohio State in the first half, but the Aggies just keep hanging around. Dat Nguyen has turned things around for the Aggies here in the second half on defense. David Boston, that's an Ohio State bowl game record. 11 receptions, beating Chris Carter's 9.
And Dat Nguyen might have made it official that Florida State and Tennessee will play for number 1 in both polls. The Buckeyes are scoreless here in the second half of this Nokia Sugar Bowl. Brandon Stewart in trouble. Steps out, and he's able to hit Oliver. So the chains move on a big scramble pass for 20 yards.
And what this play does is obviously it gives you better field position, but psychologically it's huge for a quarterback and the whole team. They can breathe just a little bit more easily, knowing they are out from the shadow of their own goalpost.
Bumgarner, Brinkley, Taylor on 1st down Aggies. Ohio State rushes 4. Complete, and here's Taylor to the 44-yard line. Winfield making the stop. Jack, what's the word down below on Wiley?
Well, Brent, they're going to retape Michael Wiley's right ankle. It's a slight sprain. They're going to see what kind of weight and how he can cut on it. If he does well, he'll be back out there.
I think you can see the young man sent along word that he's fine. He's all right. Second down, 2 yards to go. Stewart almost intercepted at midfield, and that man again, Rudzinski.
Aggies have had a lot of success trying to get the ball to the tight end down the middle. But watch the play by Rudzinski, number 35. Ball is just a little bit underthrown, but Rudzinski, knowing that that's where Brandon wanted to go with it.
Rodney Bailey into the game. Third down and 2 at the 6:40 mark. Aggies pass forward and is deflected off the blitz by Antoine Winfield, who steps into the passing lane. Dan, were you surprised they didn't run for it that time?
Yeah, I thought that they'd go back to Jamar Toombs and put him in the tailback position behind Will Simpson. But how does a guy that's 5'9" block a pass from a quarterback who's 6'2"? What a job by Winfield. He is the best blitzing cornerback I've ever seen, pro or college. He makes plays right in the quarterback's face.
A little bit of a gimp. Boston wasn't limping quite that badly in the first half. He certainly has set a record in the Sugar Bowl for fair catches in one game. I'm not even going to look at. I'm not even going to send everybody to go look. Makes another one at the 18.
I'll be right on it.
Up by 10. Timeout. When Dat Wynn first put away that soccer ball and took up football at Rockport Fulton near Corpus Christi, he earned second-team All-State honors as a punter. The Aggies are forever thankful that he became a great inside linebacker in college football. The run up the middle, and you know Dat is right there. And we asked Dat what playing football at A&M has done for him.
Taught me a lot. I think it taught me to be the person I am today. You know, not just seeing the big picture of reality, where growing up, I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't have football or having a scholarship at Texas A&M going to school. I think a lot is due to the leadership skills that it taught me, you know, communication skills, you know, working with people, with different cultures.
The young man was born in an Arkansas refugee camp to Vietnamese parents, and his story is one of the best ones of this or any other season in college football. Swing pass incomplete, and it was Montgomery out of the backfield, and now it's third down, 5:39, and Brian Mobilson, our spotter, said to you during that timeout, you get 3 and out, the Aggies might be able to hang in this one.
Well, the Ohio State helps out there with that incomplete pass. It stops the clock and brings up a third down. Hankiewicz's defense in this second half has allowed only 25 yards rushing after allowing over 150 in the first half.
Jacobs' offense trying to come up with the answer on 3rd and 6. They need to move the ball to the 28-yard line. 3 wide receivers. The redshirt freshman still on the corner. Jermaine looks the other way. Fumble! And Ohio State pounced on the loose ball. Saving the day was Murphy. Number 56, Rob Murphy. 34 starts. Saved it after Warwick Holdman drilled the ball from Jermaine. What a moment that was for Aggie fans.
Well, watch him. Number 43 is Holdman. He goes all the way around the tight end and then tomahawks the ball out of Jermaine's hands. Joe Jermaine never saw the linebacker.
Now the Aggies with 1 deep man. They put more pressure up front. Bartholomew standing inside the 5. They're coming after him, and he's able to get it off. Taylor on a big Ohio State bounce just keeps backing up. And Ohio State makes the most of that one as it rolls all the way to the 26. That's a 55-yard punt under duress. Timeout. Today's aerial coverage of the Nokia Sugar Bowl is provided by Tostitos. And certainly, while I've got a moment, Happy New Year and thanks for a great season from our producer, Bob Goodrich, our director, Drew Esikoff, our associate producer, Patrick McManus, and the associate director, Russell Brooks, the senator. What a great job they turned in all season long with this crew. Here's Stewart back deep, going long, incomplete. Very difficult to get the deep ball against this Buckeye secondary, partner.
Yeah, it's because they have such great speed at corner, but also such intelligence and veteran leadership from the safety position. Every time that Stewart has tried to go deep, he's had to go against a good corner in either Plummer or Winfield, but then there's the safeties are always back there as well.
Second down and 10. Complete to Toombs, the fullback, and they won't let him go. Ahmad Plummer, the junior corner, to big fella no further. Incomplete. Bumgardner, the intended receiver, and the Aggies here at the 4:02 mark might as well go for it on 4th down.
Trailing by 10, really don't have any other choice, and if you go back to that punt by Bartholomew, that ball hit the ground 35 yards down the field and rolled another 20 and put the Aggies so deep in their own end. Now, this is a surprise. RC's going to punt it back to Ohio State.
Well, going to hope maybe he gets a turnover. Something happens.
Now, remember, Leckler's a pretty good passer.
Yeah. He was a high school quarterback. He's done that, but not this time. Booms it out, and here is Boston going to let it bounce. This time takes Texas A&M bounce. And on the hop, Boston's got it. He'll hobble out of bounds. He takes exception to being hit as it was going out of bounds, but it wasn't that late. 52-yard punt with a 1-yard return. Timeout.
This is the Nokia Sugar Bowl.
The Buckeyes closing in on a victory, which would make the Big Ten 5-0 this bowl season. A stunning turnaround after last year's debacle. Jonathan Wells in at tailback, and the Buckeyes run wide to work on the clock. Somewhat surprised, but of course with the injury to Wiley, that forces a newcomer in there because a fumble is exactly what the Aggies are looking for here. It has been a struggle in the second half for the Bucks.
0 points for the Bucks. That's the bottom line in this second half. But the thing with the Aggies, they've forced 3 fumbles tonight. They've yet to recover 1.
When you look back on this season, perhaps the Buckeye year came down to one play. They were driving for a touchdown in a late going, and it was Hill, who had been picked on early in the season for the Spartans, who made the interception, and Michigan State with a 28-24 victory, the only blemish on the Ohio State schedule. As you can see, they beat West Virginia, Missouri, Penn State, Michigan. So they were unbeaten against bowl teams coming into this game, and now they put up another big W. But it looks like they're going to come up a little bit short in the Pole Bowl. We for sure know about the ESPN Coaches Bowl, because automatically they will crown the winner Monday night between Tennessee and Florida State. I think that's going to be a great helmet-knocking football game, and we certainly want to send along our best wishes to our colleague Keith Jackson. He will call his last game for us on Monday night. Keith, it won't be the same without you around here, partner. No question about that. Second down and 4. Wells sprints out of bounds. Jay Brooks, the defender over there, but a 12-yard gain. And the sands of time now counting down on these Aggies, who did give us some moments, didn't they, partner?
Oh, I tell you, we saw them come back against Texas that great day that Ricky Williams had, and just lose to the last-minute field goal. But their victory over Kansas State will be remembered forever, because who said that the Aggies can't win the big game? That was a big game, and don't forget their great win against Nebraska earlier in the year.
First down. Joe Germain taking his last snaps as the Ohio State quarterback. And Wells, one of the runners of the future, to the 44. Anthony making the stop there.
And you can hear Jonathan Wells' family going crazy. He's from nearby River Ridge, Louisiana. Quite thrilled to be able to get into a Sugar Bowl game in front of your family and friends.
Did you get over to Mother's while you were in town, right around the corner from the hotel, my partner?
Absolutely. I put enough money in that place to buy a table.
They don't give me receipts that I can turn in, though.
I just print them up like you usually do at home.
That's second down and 4. Montgomery and that tailback for Ohio State. Boy, there'll be a lot of talk about Big Ten teams coming into next season. I would think that Michigan and Penn State might be preseason top 5, and let's not overlook Drew Brees there at Purdue. They're going to be really exciting. Of course, the Bucs have got some talent coming back too. We'll have to see about a couple of these juniors, and a couple other folks I want to thank. Our 2 assistants did a great job this year. The Z-Man and the Y-Man, Drew Kaliski and Ross Malloy. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. And our red hat for a night, Dick Shafter, came in from the Midwest. Good job. And our stage manager, Don Slothman. Outstanding job, Don. Made sure all the promos got on the air tonight. ABC thanks you. First down and 10. Final minute 45. Ticking away here on the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Anthony Holman down there on the computerized stats. Brought me all those great stories out of Texas all season long. Made sure I didn't miss a copy of the Dallas Morning News. One of the better newspapers in this country if you're following college football. Sporting news, folks. If you like college football, I'll tell you the sleeper out there is that magazine out of St. Louis. Thought they did a great job this year covering college football. Second down and 5 now for the Bucs. They'll turn that stage over to 2 final games. The FedEx Orange tomorrow night in Miami, and then on Monday night, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl between Tennessee and Florida State. They'll play for a national championship. It's at 8 Eastern time. Bring along your computer. Set it up. Dial up that ESPN.com and play along. See if you can pick the plays. See if you can figure out what T. Martin is going to do next for Tennessee. The young man will replace Peyton Manning, and we update our stats. The Big Ten, for the first time in history, will go 5-0 in a bowl season, and not one other conference is above 500 as I look at that graphic. That is outstanding.
We're going to hang a star on that one.
Outcheck me. The Big East is 1 game above 500, 2-1, and they too turned in a great bowl season. What a job Virginia Tech did beating Alabama. Let's check in now with our colleague Jackaroo. Jack.
Brent, a year ago, the Ohio State Buckeyes were spanked by the Florida State Seminoles. But John Cooper and his coaching staff said they learned a lot in that game. A couple of items that they learned. 1, don't practice on natural grass. Get in on the turf. Don't worry about the speed. But more importantly, they said they learned from Mickey Andrews' defense that they needed speed on the defensive line, and they needed to substitute all through the game. That's what they've done tonight.
It helps when Andre Wadsworth is now living out there in Phoenix, too. Turns out, what a game he played for the Seminoles in here last year. Well, Dan Fout's going to go with the chalk. He likes the Noles and Bobby Bowden, and I'm going to go with the SEC, although I'll tell you, I hesitate looking at that SEC record in the bowls. I expected them to do a whole lot better, folks, and they didn't. So I'm just not too sure about the Volunteers right now. Final seconds tick away.
And partner, Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, my friend.
Arlene, who's joined us in the booth now,
and Jerry back home with the family in Oregon. I know she enjoyed coming on over to the islands in Hawaii for the Jeep Aloha Bowl. Jonathan Wells will bring down the curtain, and there it is. is Ohio State winds up 11-1. They will play in the Kickoff Classic next year against Miami. That win closes out one of the greatest college careers in the history of Texas A&M. 24-14, Ohio State. Happy New Year, everybody. Kickoff and march down to open up a 7-0 margin. But after that, it was Buckeye power. Reggie Germany on the pass from Jermaine. Then it was Joe Montgomery. But the play of the first half, Dan Fouts, was probably the block punt.
Well, Derek Ross, number 37, his third block punt of the year. Then Kevin Griffin takes it in for the score. So it's offense, defense, and special teams for Ohio State.
Now let's take a look at the Morgan Stanley Dean Witter first half stats.
Well, the old time of possession thing, that's amazing. It's what you do with the ball that's most important, though. And you go to the bottom line here. Ohio State with great balance, running the ball and passing the ball, and that top defense doing a job on the Aggies.
How about second half adjustments, partner?
Well, I think you got to start the second half as you started the first half. Get the ball to Dante Hall on the ground. Chris Cole has no receptions in that first half. He's their leading receiver. If you get the ball to him, that'll open up the tight end down the middle, and you've got to have ball control. Keep Ohio State's offense off the field.
Jack Arute, what the coaches have to say.
Well, Brent, let's first update you on the condition of Sir Parker, the Aggies running back. He's fine. He had the wind knocked out of him. This break at halftime has fully recovered him. Now, R.C. Slocum talked about heart all during halftime to his team. He reminded him of the Kansas State come-from-behind victory. Now, for John Cooper, he wants no changes other than a minor change in his running game. He said, I want them to now run straight at the Aggies.
Stoltz with the ball on the tee. The Aggies to handle it first here in the second half. Sir Parker does not take it easy. Comes barreling out, and he's well short of the 10-yard line. The decision, not a good one, as Percy King, the free safety, makes him pay. And Sir Parker shaken up again. So it is double trouble for the Aggies.
Well, Parker hesitated. He's backing up number one. That's bad. You should always be taking the ball coming forward. But watch a little bit of hesitation there, and that really costs him. Watch Derek Ross, 37, come in here with another big play on special teams, as well as Percy King, who kept Parker from getting to the outside.
Ran into Jim Lachey, your old friend out in the hallway out here working on the radio broadcast of the Buckeyes. He says, have you and Dan started to talk about AP number one yet? He's out there lobbying for the Buckeyes. Can you believe it?
Well, he's obviously not listening to our broadcast, and that's a good sign because he is working on the radio. Former teammate of mine, number one pick of the San Diego Chargers towards the end of my career. Talk about bad trades. Trading Jim Lachey to the Oakland Raiders, the LA Raiders at the time, and then on to Washington. Had a great career.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad one.
Yeah, Jim Lachey was the last Ohio State offensive guard to make All-American until Rob Murphy, who has done it twice now for the Buckeyes.
Mainstay of the offensive line doing a job here tonight in New Orleans. So Dante Hall behind twos in the backfield and a pair of tight ends for the Aggies to open the second half. Play fake. Near side incomplete, and splendid coverage by Plummer.
Now on one side of the defensive secondary they have a great cornerback in Antoine Winfield, and on the other side they've got a pretty good and soon-to-be great cornerback in Ahmed Plummer. Plummer led the Buckeyes in interceptions this year, and if he would have got his hands on that one, he might have scored.
Oliver and Brinkley off the Aggie sidelines. Pair of wideouts, they brought the play into Stewart. Dante Hall to the middle, and nothing doing as Pickett, the freshman out of Florida, makes a stop.
You can see what that defense of the Buckeyes has done this year. It's the reason why they were number one in the nation for 9 straight weeks until they had that disaster against the Spartans of Michigan State.
This time it will be Taylor going out wide. And extra power to protect the quarterback as Simpson checks in along with Toombs, and the Aggies show a shotgun with Stewart. the left tackle moved. After the left side of the Buckeye line moved and got back, then it was Rex Tucker, number 53, who picked up his hand and committed the violation. And Jack, what are we hearing about?
Before the ball was snapped, movement by the offense, half the distance, still third down.
What are we hearing about Sir Parker from the sideline?
Well, Brent, Sir Parker may have recovered at halftime, but that hit
Loss in the passing game, more so than the running game for the Aggies.
They need 14 yards coming out from their own end zone on this third down. Got one-on-one, got Taylor up high, juggle, and makes a great grab. What a catch by Taylor over Ahmad Plummer, who was draped all over the wide man.
Well, Chris Taylor is a great athlete. As a sophomore, this is his 4th catch of the ball game, and this one may really pick up the spirits of the Aggies. When you lose a Sir Parker, you lose a lot of your game plan because he has special abilities, and you use those abilities to create one-on-ones. With him out, that changes things for the Aggies.
So the third down play bails out the Aggies, and he'll fling it on first. Knocked away, incomplete. Penetration that time by Joe Brown. The sophomore defensive tackle swats it away.
Real heads up from Joe Brown there, because he's nowhere near the quarterback, but he sees that Stewart wanted to come out here to haul. But he also shows us why he's playing defensive tackle and perhaps not tight end. Got no hands.
Now freshman Dan, Mike Collins, who has played very well for the Bucks, replaces him. This obvious passing situation. Fresh rushman. Stewart and Taylor drops one. Makes the great catch and drops the easy one.
Yeah, that's a case of lack of concentration.
Jack, we have not seen Spiller here early on in the second half.
That's right, Brent. The Aggie tight end Derek Spiller is out for the rest of the game. It seems near the end of the first half he suffered a concussion, and the doctors have not cleared him to play in the second part of this game.
That might have been the last play of the first half. He was racked at midfield. Remember, they were exchanging words. He got hit hard. Passing down again. Stewart will try to bail the Aggies out. 3rd and 10. And it is dropped again. Toombs, freshman fullback, couldn't get the handle. Don't think he would have gotten the first down anyway.
And not a guy that catches a lot of balls on the year. Stewart, feeling pressure that's not there, does not give his fullback a good catch, a good ball to catch a little bit too far out in front of him.
Boston set to return this punt from Leckler. Pressure, you can see it collapsing all around him. Fair catch at the 31, and again, the reason why Boston making fair catch after fair catch, he's playing with an injured left ankle. Coach doesn't want him returning punts. Timeout for the Big Ten during this bowl season. 4-0 coming into the Nokia Sugar Bowl. The Buckeyes, the last of the Big Ten teams playing. Joe Germain, deep drop, lots of time, all day. Lumpkin, his first catch, and forced out of bounds at the 39-yard line, a couple of yards shy of a first down.
Boy, Royland Bradley had good coverage on Lumpkin, but because Lumpkin is 6'8", Germain could put the ball a little bit higher. Bradley's only 6'1", and that's the reason for that completion.
Dan, so far the size of the Buckeyes has worn down that Aggie front here a little bit.
You know what? Offensively, you're absolutely right. And I think on defense, Brent, the speed and quickness of the Buckeye defensive line is making a difference.
Second down and 1. Wisniewski, the H-back, helping with the blocking. Wiley for the first down. Well, Dat Nguyen playing on an injured toe that Dan Fouts told you about in the first half.
Has over 517 tackles on his great career, but you can see it's just not the same. He just doesn't have the quickness with that bad toe. And the comparison with Katzenmoyer, you see both guys, their numbers are down.
And Andy made a big play, and Wiley dashes across midfield. We asked John Cooper, what was his defining moment of this Buckeye season? And the answer will not surprise you. Here it is.
Over Michigan. That would be the highlight of what's been a good year so far, and obviously the very disappointing loss we had against the day we played them, a pretty good Michigan State football team. A game that, you know, looking back, we win that ball game, we probably would be playing for the national championship. So we don't have anybody to blame except ourselves, you know.
John would have been back in Tempe. He once coached Arizona State. They would be playing on Monday night if they had beaten Michigan State, and everything else had wound up the same. No question about that. Boston's out of bounds with the reception, and those chains are going to move again.
And Brent, what did the Buckeyes in against the Spartans? 3 turnovers in the third quarter. So far tonight, they have fumbled the ball twice, but have not lost those fumbles, and Jermaine has not thrown any interceptions.
Superb performance, Dan, by the offensive line. Walter, Rob Murphy, Kurt Murphy, Gilbert, and Burris up front for the Bucks. They have started and played together every game this year. Jermaine deep back, fires Boston complete, and he is tackled by Curry.
And you know, Brent, that offensive line is doing it with the run and the pass. Jermaine's been sacked twice, but he hasn't been hit very often. We saw that clip of what happened last year in the Sugar Bowl against Florida State when he was drilled every time. But look at this pass protection. The Aggies just coming with 3 men. And Boston easily getting open in the secondary.
So with a first down at the Aggie 31-yard line, one of those efficient, machine-like drives that the Buckeyes can put together. Keller. Bradley makes the stop, but not before the fullback crosses the 30-yard line here for Ohio State.
David Boston with 6 catches for 58 yards on the night becomes the all-time career leader in passing receiving yardage for Ohio State. Pretty good names on that list.
2nd and 7.
And he's only a junior, Brent. What do you think about him going next year?
Well, maybe. No, I think he will go. I think he's a big-time first-rounder. He and Peter Warwick, whom you'll watch Monday night with Florida State. Toss one juggled by Wiley, and he is out of bounds at the 26-yard line.
You talk about a quarterback and how many different types of throws he has to make. This is a veteran throw by Jermaine over the lineman there. That's Ronald Flemings, who goes 6'5", and just a little bit too wide for Wiley, but a good throw by Jermaine, showing he can drill it and also a nice touch on it.
Checks the play from the sideline. 3rd and 6. He'll send Boston off to his left, and D. Miller's off to the right. And it looks like they draw man coverage. Now Cody's backing off. Penalty flag is thrown. Too much time taken by Jermaine when he changed up the play at the line of scrimmage.
Before the ball was snapped, 25-second clock expired.
That's the statement Ohio State wants to make. They have scored 24 unanswered points. They lead at 24-7. 5 defensive backs. Michael Jamison checks in for the Aggies. Middle, Boston dive, incomplete. On the carpet. And it looks like there may even be a penalty flag thrown on the play. Yes, there is. Offensive, I believe, was, if I was reading lips, that's offensive pass interference.
That brings up a long field goal try now for the Buckeyes.
Dan Stoltz already made a 31-yarder. Hold it to the left. Misfired. And the ball will come out to the line of scrimmage. There's those Aggies again, hanging around. We'll be right back. Back back at the Superdome here in New Orleans. Alongside of it, a brand new basketball and hockey arena is going up, which will seat around 18,000, I was told the other day. 1st and 10 now for the Aggies, and Brandon Stewart on the blitz. It's Dante Hall, slips a tackle, and hanging on is Diggs. Number 32, Niall Diggs, but there is a flag.
They're going to get Antoine Winfield for roughing the passer. He came on the corner blitz and just drilled Brandon Stewart after the handoff.
Personal foul, defense, 15-yard penalty added on to the end.
That's a critical mistake by Winfield. Quarterback didn't even have the ball. He's coming from the left side of the screen, right about here. After the handoff, Stewart's going to go back. Watch number 11. And he hits the quarterback right in the back, right in front of the official.
And it puts the football at midfield. And Coop can't be too happy about that one. That ball was handed off about a second or two before the hit. Stewart back there in that shotgun again. Underneath to Dante Hall. Brent Johnson. He led the Bucks with 7 sacks. He slides out and makes a stop. Well, let's remind you again of the wild card doubleheader on ABC tomorrow. Buffalo, Miami. That's the opener. And then the second game, Arizona, Dallas. Dan, let's bring you in on those games. What's your feeling? Let's start Buffalo, Miami.
Well, I love Dan Marino, but my all-time favorite receiver, Charlie Joyner, is the wide receiver coach for the Bills. So I'm kind of pulling for Charlie.
All right. How about the second one?
I like the Arizona Cardinals in a huge upset.
That would be with Derek Spiller having returned from his injury problem. Catches the ball and Berry drills him out of bounds again. And remember, the report was had a little concussion problem, but apparently the doctors cleared him.
But again, it's another pass completion for Brandon Stewart for virtually no yards. Stewart gets it out to his tight end. This is a good sign, though, that he can play again. Those smelling salts work every time, but he did lose a yard on the play.
Dan, the one fellow they've got to get the football into the hands of 42. You see Spiller, but Chris Taylor is the speed as far as the wide receivers are concerned. They got him off to the quarterback's right. He looks middle too high, intercepted, bad throw. Damon Moore picks it off. 35, Damon on a cutback. We've got a penalty flag down.
And the flag is in the secondary, so this one may go against Ohio State. Stewart was trying to hit Spiller down the middle against the 2-deep coverage. And the Aggies are going to say that the tight end was held, and that's why Moore made the interception.
Pass interference on the defense will be 15 yards from the previous spot, plus the first down.
Cooper wants an explanation on this one. Cooper says the ball was not catchable.
Yeah, and for the outside here, Spiller's going to come down the middle. On the left side of the screen, it's inside Rudzinski, and Stewart's going to put the ball over his head, and that's what Cooper's saying. They're going to say that Katzenmoyer got a little shove there on Spiller. I'm not so sure about that call.
But it gives the Aggies a life instead of an interception. 1st and 10 at the 36. Remember that play if the Aggies mount a comeback here. Inside handoff, Toombs running free. Pounds through a couple of tacklers and hammers his way to the 28-yard line before Plummer. And looks like we've got a flag again on the far side. So suddenly the officiating crew, after a clean first half, getting real busy here.
Offside, defense, the penalties decline. Second down.
That's 3 penalties on Ohio State in this drive alone.
So they will decline that and take the Toombs run, giving them a 2nd down and 2 situation. Toombs and Dante Hall are in the eye. Campbell is the tight end to the quarterback's right. And Toombs pounds to the middle for a first down as he crosses the 25-yard line with authority, we might add this time.
Oh, you get a real uneasy feeling on the Buckeye sideline right now. They've seen the tapes of this Aggie team take apart, if you will, Kansas State in overtime. This game has a similar feeling going on right now.
And Cotton replaces Johnson. Craig Thorpe calling the plays on the right-hand side. First down. Stewart rolls hard left, fires incomplete underneath. Campbell, the tight end, coming out, and the ball was not on target.
We should mention that Randy McCown has been cleared to play. Stewart's having a good game, and R.C. Slocum told us that he wasn't going to pull him unless he got hurt or was playing terribly. But McCown suffered that broken collarbone. He is ready to play, though. The doctors have given him the green light.
You know, they are sprinting Stewart because of the force being brought by the Buckeye defense.
Yep.
There's penetration from the line. They've been blitzing backers and defensive backs. Puggage mixing it up for the Bucks. Second down and 10. And before the snap.
We delay a game.
Clock expired, 5-yard penalty.